If you haven't bought one of these vertical gardens yet from Greenstalk, they are so fantastic. I highly recommend it because they're one of the best ways to grow your own food in a really small space. Now, I have a pretty big space back there, but I still have a Greenstalk on my deck for having all my salad greens and herbs right next to my kitchen door. So it's great, but I want to show you today, how do you fill this thing and how do you plant it? Let's take it step by step. So if you're filling your vertical planter for the first time, you're going to want to use a potting soil, not a garden soil, not topsoil, but a potting soil. I only use organic, and you're going to want to fill this whole thing up almost to the top. Now, before you get there, I've gone ahead and filled it most of the way so that you could see. I like to add a couple things because this is a container. So the first thing I add is just a little organic, sort of an all-purpose fertilizer. It is a 624 for your nutrients, and I just sprinkle just a little tiny handful about a quarter of the way down. I also really love this fancy chicken pelleted chicken manure, and I just take a small handful, again about halfway to quarter way down, give it a little sprinkle, and that way you've got some extra nutrients in this container because it's not in the ground. It's not going to get the nutrients that it would normally get from an in-ground bed. So it's nice to have a few things added, and then go ahead and fill the rest of the top with your potting soil. All right, so you've got your soil filled up almost to the top. I've got some strawberries already planted. I'm going to show you how I plant a few different things. And keep in mind that these need to be somewhat smaller plants. You wouldn't want to probably grow kale. Kale grows really tall and really big. That might be a little overwhelming. You can do it. I actually have done kale in here before, but it got a little overwhelming. I think we do better with salads, herbs, and shorter type plants, but definitely give everything a try. All right, so we're gonna start off with some butterhead lettuce. So what I like to do is I push the soil up against the edge here, and I sort of make a little cave here for the pot. And it's a really good idea to just set the pot in here and create that space. Now, another thing I like to do, and I'll show you from an angle, I like to plant these at a slight angle. All right, so instead of normally planting completely up and down, in these planters, it's a good idea to have it at a slight angle because another one of these layers is gonna go on top of it. And so if I plant it too far back, it's gonna get smushed really fast. So give it a bit of an angle. And for a transplant like this, just give a gentle squeeze. It should come right out. And you've already created that space there. So it's at a slight angle. Push it up just a bit, and then move that soil on top to really pack it in. So I usually take some soil from the middle and kind of pat it all around, making sure even in front here that you've got enough soil. It's really hard to fill once the plant is in. This is the best time to get it done. All right, so that guy is planted and good. Now, the next one, I have some herbs here. I have some dill. Herbs are one of my favorite things to plant in the vertical Greenstalk here. I will put a link to the Greenstalk in the info below with a discount if you're interested in getting one. All right, so again, the dill's a little trickier. It's pretty wet soil, so I gotta be a little careful, but you'd be surprised. All of these plants, they don't have to be treated like little babies. They're actually pretty resilient. All right, so I'm gonna push it up to the edge as best I can, a little harder when they're this small. I would have loved it to have been a little bigger, but this is what I got right now. And so I sort of hold it up against there and then push the soil in, pat it down. I like to separate that a little bit, like so. Now they look sort of sad right now, but they will pep up very fast, especially once they get water. So don't worry too much. They look very sad. They'll make a comeback, you'll see. All right, I have a couple more herbs that are very small. Again, I'd prefer to do it when a transplant is a little bigger. This is what I've got right now, and I just want to show you how I do it. So I've got, I'm gonna even take my gloves off for this one. I've got some basil. I love having basil right by my kitchen door. So it's a little guy. I plant all of my transplants from seed He is hardened off. If you don't know what that means, we'll get more into that more in another video. Pat that in, give him a little angle, or her. Put it in, give it a pat. That will grow to be awesome. And I have one more, I think. Yes, I have some parsley. Also, way smaller than I would like, but it doesn't matter. As long as it's hardened off, this guy is gonna grow very quickly, especially now that spring has sprung. Now there's a few in here, so I'm gonna break them apart. They're resilient, trust me. Make a little hole for the roots. I push it to the edge and then I fill and push it so he's nice and stable. I do not know why all of these today are a he, but they are. Just kidding. All right, get all that soil tucked in. Now, I've got one more spot, so I'm gonna go get one more plant and then we're gonna water it in. Now, I like to water each level individually once it is put on. The Greenstalk, I'm gonna fill a little more soil on top of here, and then I'm gonna show you what it looks like as I put it on the Greenstalk. So this is the first level. We went ahead and put that on. What I want to show you is this little handy dandy thing. So this is going on the top of every single level. And you see these little holes right here? You want to make sure, for one, if you've just replenished your bed, that they're not full with any soil. You want to make sure those are empty. And then when you put it down, make sure that this hole aligns with each spot that there is a plant. That's definitely going to help you. All right, so let's go ahead and add our first layer. You slip them on to fit the little puzzle piece. So these two little ends here go right onto those little, and you want to make sure that you try to clear your plants out of the way, which is why I had you plant them at an angle. So kind of pull them forward and align this as best you can. Kind of take a look all around before you lock it in. Are my plants out of the way? They look good. You'll know it's locked in because you'll sort of feel it click. So let's wiggle, and there you go. And the first time I plant, I like to water every layer fully. So come on in, give everybody some good water, just like you would if it was in any kind of pot. You want to give it a pretty good soak all the way around. Now, once you do this initial soak, you're always going to water from the top. And I will show you that as well. When you feel like that's done, I'm going to go ahead and put on the next one. All right, the last thing that we're gonna put on is the top. It's got a hole here and holes all around, so match those holes next to each planter. And this also is going to click right in. So watch your plants, give it a click. Make sure it's in there really good. And that is your vertical planter. Now, how are you gonna water it? So from now on, you're going to fill water. They say to about the 5 line. This is a 5-tier planter, so you would fill water from a hose or a watering can. It would take a little while through here, and then it is going to trickle all the way down to all the levels, and it's gonna come out that little spout there. So I always push that off the edge into the grass, and there you have it, a vertical planter.